Okay. So Chester, how do you define traditional teaching and learning or untraditional teaching and learning?
Sure. So should I introduce myself?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
I have to put all your information in there anyway.
Okay, so then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right. So I think traditional learning / teaching would be that 8 to 3. So the concept that you see in high school, where a student will come to the classroom and sit in the classroom for 8 hours or 7 hours out of the day, and learning whatever subject knowledge that they need to know. I think the untraditional style of teaching is everything that they learn outside of the classroom.
Okay.
So it could be the things that they learn, amongst their friends, the things that they learn meeting with their counselors, or things that they learn at home. Those are like the untraditional things that many individuals don't really think about, that they're constantly learning.
Right.
And so it's really trying to understand, how are we grasping that entire concept of a student, not just in the traditional classroom.
Right.
Because they only do so much in that 8-7 hour span. So that's my difference between the two.
Okay. As far as in your field of profession, what kind of teaching or learning do you personally do on a daily basis in your job?
So for me, it's more so connecting individuals with their purpose.
Okay.
Understanding where students, their backgrounds, and how their backgrounds can be a strength in their future. One of the reasons why I became or wanted to go into this field is because of that aha moment. I remember when I had my aha moment, and it was literally sitting down talking to one of my friends, and they were like, I'm blessed to have met you, because I don't think I would have gotten this far in my career if I didn't. And so that was my aha moment. I'm like, okay, well, I can actually do this as a career.
Right.
So it's really connecting students to that purpose, that aha moment, or whatever that might be. And it comes at different moments. Some individuals have it their freshman year, other individuals have it, unfortunately, their senior year. It just really depends on the individual overall.
Perfect. Do you think you'd still do you think that you personally still learn as you're going through your daily kind of work schedule?
Oh yeah, I learn every day. Every day I learn how to do things more efficiently. I learn how to approach individuals, because one thing that you will quickly learn in this field is that the same approach don't work for every student. And so it's really learning that individual student, learning their backgrounds, to be able to provide them with the best approach, the best resources, because you can't just, say, hey, here's counseling services for everyone, but
right.
Some individuals won't need it. So
right.
It's just really, learning how to become more effective and more efficient in my day-to-day job.
Awesome. Do you think there are any specific strategies that you are constantly using, or that you have found have worked really well with the students that you're interacting with?
Yep, trial and error. Yeah, because it's like, hey, let's do this. Let's see if it works. And if it doesn't work, it's like, okay, so what didn't go well? What can we improve on? Things like that. And just having those conversations, those assessment conversations. So evaluation is going to be one of the best things that you learn within this field, is because you need to know the things that you could have improved on to make the event much better. And one of the things that you will learn as well is that don't trash your ideas. So even if you use it this semester and you found that the students wasn't receptive to it, that doesn't mean that, okay, well, we throw them out the window. That just means this population is not, keen to that type of approach.
Right.
So try it again the next year, and it might work for those other individuals. And so it's just really a trial and error, just seeing what works, what doesn't work. But every day you learn, every day it's fun, because you're with a group of individuals who are so excited to be here. And, most of the people that we work with directly here within the Teachers College is that they see this as an amazing opportunity. And many individuals don't get this opportunity, and so they see this as hey, no one else in my family has been to college, and I'm teaching them how to do this, or I'm leading the way for my siblings. And so just being a part of that entire situation, and it just, for me, it's just humbling. It's just I'm honored to do this, so it's fun for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In your personal experience in education, have you ever had a teacher that taught differently, was an outlier that either made you feel like you learned better, or felt like you learned way worse with that specific teacher?
For me, So I have one individual. He was my ethics and society teacher in undergrad. And one of the things that he did differently, and the course just really talked about how we ethically and morally, how do we develop those type of traditions, morals, values, and how do we ethically move forward in our day-to-day, life. And one of the things that he did differently, and I think part is kind of biased because he was also my mentor, but one of the things that he did differently is that he never came to class. He never gave out homework. But he would come to class and we would just have a discussion the entire time. He would just throw out phrases that you would have coined from or you would have learned in your readings. But it was never any exams. It was more of a discussion, and if you participated, then you got the points for the day or for the oral exam. And if you didn't, you obviously failed. But it was more just a conversation, and I learned more from that than him up in the front of the room is just writing all these words on a board and me just taking notes. Because we kind of got the opportunity to kind of discuss different definitions, different perspectives of the same concept. But that kind of helped me pick and choose, like, okay, well, now I understand this and I understand that, and this is how I can apply it to my day-to-day life and things of that sort. So just providing a more of like an open discussion type of classroom would work for me.
Do you feel like in that classroom you had more of a discussion with you and the teacher, or was it more you and your peers with the teacher kind of mediating?
Good. It was me and my peers more so.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more of my peers, and then if the professor, if he felt like we were kind of going the wrong way, he was like, no, but then he was always playing the devil advocate as well, because it was like one of those philosophy courses, so it's more so like, how do you take this?
Right.
So, and I think that was just kind of the structure of the class, and that's the structure of the topic, that you can kind of have that open discussion, but, he would just let us kind of figure it out, and then he'll throw out like some tidbits and say like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you feel about this when when you're talking to your friend? So he really, just kind of kept us on track, but it was more so the discussion that I had with my peers that helped me learn much better than what I would get from any professor.
Perfect. As far as in all of your education levels, if you can think back, like even elementary, high school, it's not very specific, but do you feel like you had all of the resources that you needed or that were possible for you to have to succeed in school?
No. No. I come from, so my background in education, just my education journey was always a struggle. I went to a public... So I started off at a public elementary school, and then I went to a private elementary school up until 5th grade. And then I went back to a public institution from 6th to 8th grade. And it's the reason why I'm telling you all of this. And then my high school years from 9th and 12th grade, I was in a charter school.
Okay.
So throughout my time, kind of going through all of these different systems, one thing that I was entering in and then also taken out of is that I was entering into places that had more opportunities than others. There is, like, my public middle school, that school was like one of the premier schools in Wisconsin.
Okay.
So they had a lot of resources, a lot of opportunities to connect us with that next step, connect us with the bettering high schools in Milwaukee. So counselors were amazing. Like, it was just amazing. But then when I went on to high school, all of that changed because we didn't have the resources to fund all of our classes. So some classes we didn't even have teachers in. Some classes we had an adjunct or a substitute teacher the entire semester. And we will also have individuals like teachers coming in and out of the classroom as well.
Wow.
And so with the charter school, you don't have to have that certification from the state.
Right.
So you will literally get individuals who are coming off the street just like teaching us. And it's like, some of our teachers were kind of upset with us because it was like, we were telling them like, hey, you're wrong. Like, that is so wrong. Like, I was in pre-calc, but then I was also, I was in pre-calc, but then I was also taking a university class. And so I was kind of learning the same thing, but But when I went to the university, and I was taking classes at Marquette University, so I know they were credible, and I know they were at that level. So I'm like, these things I'm learning here is not,
it's not
aligning up with this. And so I would always be that individual like, hey, this is wrong. And then he would get upset, and he just felt like I was just, pushing him. And I'm like, no, I just want you to kind of, prepare everybody else better.
Yeah.
So, no, I didn't have all of the opportunities in the world. And it was due to just the lack of commitment to education in Wisconsin. And as you can see right now, even Wisconsin educational system is bad. It's constantly being cut from not only the K through 12 system, the PK through 12 system, but then also in the higher learning institutions. And we have a really good university. University of Wisconsin-Madison is a really good university, but they're constantly being cut. And the senator out there, he just, I don't know. The governor and the senators they just ruin it. And, I don't know. They're ruling the way that they want. But it's definitely being kind of trickled down to those students who are not in the fortunate school systems.
Right. Do you feel like there's a lack of consistency between what you learn, even if you had stayed at the same elementary school and gone into high school? Do you feel like there's a lack of consistency and a lack of kind of that transition being smooth?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's a lack of schools being held accountable. Okay. And that is a huge problem, because when I went from that premier middle school and going into the high school, which was a charter school, you can see the difference in standard. At the high school, the standard was much less than what it was in my middle school years. And it was, they were always pushing us to go above and beyond, be in these honors courses or be in these courses that is going to better prepare you for that next step. Because the transition, the pipeline was supposed to be from this premier high school or middle school to this premier high school.
Gotcha.
And we have a premier high school in Milwaukee as well. But I didn't want to go to there because they're all snobby people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I want to do something different. But, going to this alternative school, the charter school, you can just see the standard is just being dropped because they were lowering it to the population that was coming in. And that
wasn't what you were
And that just wasn't what I was used to. And so in the middle of my high school year, so around my sophomore year, Wisconsin made it a law that now you have to go to school within your neighborhood. So you have to advocate to be in whatever school system that you're in. So that wasn't my particular neighborhood. So it was like, okay, well, I'm already here. This is my sophomore year. I'm already being connected with everyone. So I want to definitely stay here. So I advocated for it, but then you also seen like the population of the school change. And so now you're getting these individuals who not necessarily... their focus is, education. Their focus is going to somewhere else. I want to make sure it's still recording because I'm talking about
Yeah.
But you're getting this population that wasn't really focused on that anymore. And
Gotcha.
so that kind of diluted the educational system at that present school too. So it's, but we didn't have individuals there. We didn't have counselors there telling like, you should go to college. You should do this. Like, what's next for you? We didn't have those type of conversations in high school.
Nobody to push you.
No one to push us. Not even our teachers. Our teachers just wasn't as invested into us as students to really go that extra mile and say, hey, you should do this.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
What kind of motivators did push you to do better and to continue on as you went through your education?
I kind of latched on to people that I kind of admired. And these are individuals who I admired for different reasons. It was a person who, he was a pastor, and but he had very good public speaking skills. And I was like, okay, I want that. Like, so I latched on to him. So he became, kind of my mentor. And he ended up going to, he went to University of Michigan, because I ended up going to Michigan State my first year, and we were rivals. So, but I ended up, but he was kind of that person in my background, was like pushing me like, okay, what's next? Like, now this is your junior year, or you begin to do that search. And then also I was in the TRIO program. I was in Upper Bound. And that really pushed me to do a lot as well. Every summer they took us on college tours. So I got the feel of kind of the region and what this colleges had to offer and stuff like that. So I definitely have the support system, and then even my family, my parents, both of my parents, they only finished high school. They only have high school degrees, and then they end up going back after I started school to get their bachelor's degree. But they always wanted us to do that next step. They always wanted us to go on and do something with our lives, because in Wisconsin, education is that thing that gets you out of Wisconsin. And so if you do not take advantage of that, you're going to be in a system
stuck in your little small town.
Yeah, and they literally have the same mindset from when I left like 10 years ago. Because every time I go back, it's the same conversations being had, and it's like,
Wow.
this is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want much more than this.
Yeah.
So much more to life. But it's very hard to explain that to individuals whose mindset is only there.
Only
It's
what
really
they
box.
know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
As far as in your life outside of your career and
Mm-hmm.
outside of ASU, are there other roles in your life that you participate as a mentor or a teacher or an educator?
Mm-hmm.
Friends, family?
Yeah. So I am a part of the Sweetwater Mentoring Program. I'm trying to get that started back up. But that is one of the things. I'm on the Arizona NASPA board. And then I'm on ASU Staff Council. And I'm not sure if you want to really separate those. But I'm in these other organizations that will not only provide me professional development, but it's also providing me like personal development and networking. Because most of the individuals that I rub shoulders with now, especially on like the AZ NASPA board, these are individuals who are like dean of students at individuals
Mm-hmm.
or at places. Vice president of student affairs, she's actually on our board at NAU. So like that's where I want to go. That's where I want to be. So it's like just rubbing shoulders with them and just kind of getting their opinion on certain things, and it's free, and like we meet on a weekly basis, and it's like, oh yeah, they know my name. So
That's awesome.
it's just really connected to those professional development organizations outside of just your day-to-day operations, and they don't have to be anything specific to what you do. Like for instance, for advising, they have Committee of Advising Association, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But these are all academic advisors that become a part of this program. And that's great and all, but you're not really getting the full scope of what the higher learning institution has.
Right.
On NASPA, you get, those dean of students, you get, faculty members on it, you get individuals from different perspectives, from housing. So you get, individuals from all different walks of departments within ASU, but then also within the educational system overall. So you get different perspectives all the time, and that's what kind of challenged me to be like, okay.
So you're constantly learning something new.
Constantly learning, always.
As far as in your Sweetwatering mentoring program, what kinds of things do you feel that you're trying to mentor your student on, or what do you feel like are some of their needs that you're addressing while you're mentoring them?
So with my particular mentor, he has a lot of home situations.
Okay.
So more so for him, one of the things that I went through when I was in undergrad is I went through this time where I was trying to figure out who I was and try to provide that identity to me. And so I ended up seeking out counseling, and I went through counseling for a few years and things of that sort. But what I found out in my counseling session is that most of the things that I was going through at that time was because of the things that I've went through in my childhood.
Okay.
Not saying that I had a bad childhood, because I really had a good childhood, but there were some things that kind of stuck with me more than others, that really developed who you kind of see today. And so the things that I talked to Tristan or Christian about at Sweetwater Mentoring is really talking to him about hey, like, what's going on? Like, what's on your mind? How are you feeling today? Because he don't really get that at home. He don't really get, someone asking him how he's doing. Like, what do he wants to do?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's losing out on that decision-making process.
Okay.
And, like, that's not really helping him in the long term, because he has to get to a point where he's going to begin to advocate for himself. And he no longer has that ability to do that, because he's already in that mindset, like, okay, nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm constantly going to him, like, how are you doing? Like, how can I help you? What is it that you need from me? So doing that and providing that, and that's usually like the first 5 to 10 minutes. But then I also want to kind of be that person on that he can just like have fun with and kind of let loose. And like we literally do anything. Like we play like this little ball game and we ask each other questions. It's like the soccer ball thing that we have.
Yeah.
And so it's something like that. And it's like one of the questions on there, or some of the questions is like, tell me a time when you felt angry. Tell me a time where you felt happy. And why were you happy at that time? So it's just like those type of questions to get him to open up a little bit more. But it's all fun because we just like toss at each other.
Yeah, right.
So yeah.
So do you feel like a lot of it is centered on him kind of figuring out his place and you're doing more of the guiding, or do you feel like you're doing a lot to try to open him up? Or, you know, is it kind of a mixture of both?
It's a combination of both.
Okay.
Because yes, I want him to open up, but if you don't have the proper guidance on how to open up, or you know the times to best open up to individuals, that's gonna hurt him in the long term. Right. So it's kind of both. I'm trying to get him to become very comfortable with me, but then also in the process, be able to learn how to make decisions, learn how to really advocate for himself, and just learn these skills that I wish I would have learned at that age, that he's learning now. So
awesome. Kind of changing topics a little bit. As an adult now, kind of out of traditional schooling, in what ways do you feel like you're still learning? I think a lot of that was answered through the committees that you're a part of. But do you feel like in what ways are you still learning?
Yeah, so adulting is horrible. No, I'm kind of playing, but I'm not. I mean, from at this point, it's no one is ever teaching you anymore. No one is ever saying like, okay, hey, here's a lesson for you today. It's like you have to kind of, you know, advocate for yourself to learn different things. And one of the things that I do in my career is I become a part of committees that I am uncomfortable doing. So there's some things that, so when I was in Scott's position, I was on like the committee for everything, like Hispanic Heritage Month. I was on that committee. I was on the committee for this transfer orientation, but then I was also on the committee for working with like the dean of students for like campus culture. And so it's like I was on all those different type of committees to help me kind of diversify my perspective of thinking as far as the higher education. But that was nothing that like my supervisor told me like, hey, you should do this, or hey, you should do that. You're kind of responsible for your own learning at that point. And even like on a constant basis, I'm looking at like the professional development page. That's one thing that ASU does really, really well. The professional development page through ASU is all free of charge to faculty and staff. But it's just really logging on to say, hey, like, you know, what's going on, like what, you know, workshops are going on. And although, yes, we get a specified amount of hours that go to professional development things, it's like you have to take advantage of those type of things. And so you literally learn what you want to learn. And you are kind of like the teacher of your own learning.
You're in charge
You're in charge of everything by yourself. So, yeah, those are just kind of like my things of what I kind of became involved with, and to kind of get me to that point. Yeah. Sorry, I got kind of.
No, you're fine. Last question. Do you consider yourself a lifelong learner?
Oh yeah.
Do you think you'll ever stop learning? Okay.
I think everyone in education should be a lifelong learner. If you're not learning anymore, or if you want to stop learning, this is probably not the field for you. Even when you're interacting with students, you learn so much from students too. With Sarah and Tristan, like they are kind of, I don't know, like they have really grown on me. And it's not, you know, more so because, you know, I take a lot of time out to kind of be with them and just kind of help them through their process. And partially is because, one, Tristan is like me when I was like a freshman in college, or now he's a sophomore, but a sophomore in college. Like that is just who I was. I was very academic focused, but then also I had a heavy or strong support system that sometimes was very intrusive. So I had that pressure on, and then I had a girlfriend at the time, which, you know, really wanted me to do more and wanted me to isolate or cut the ties with my family. And it's just so much going on. And then with Sarah, just kind of learning her and just learning how she kind of operates. But right there, it's just like really learning how to deal with people. deal with students at the end of the day, and it's learning what can you say to this individual and what can't you say to an individual, and that goes back to the trial and error. It's like, you know, just because I say this to Sarah doesn't mean I can say this to Audrey. So it's just like really kind of diversifying that, and understanding like, okay, this is the, you know, person's background, and so yes, I feel like if you stop learning or if you don't want to be a lifelong learner, then this is not the field for you. Even if it's, you know, in this classroom or not, this is just not the field for you. So
Awesome.
you should be a learner.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chester.